the Business Outlook, where we sit down with visionary leaders shaping the future of business. What strategies, challenges, and innovations are driving success in today's dynamic marketplace? I'm Salve Duplito. Today on the show, we're diving into an industry that's quietly revolutionizing how Filipinos work and how global businesses operate, the virtual assistant boom. I'm joined by two entrepreneurs who are right in the thick of it. We have Beaumont and Kody Thompson. They are the co-founders of WrkPod, an Australian firm based in the Philippines providing VA services worldwide. Thank you so much, the two of you, for joining me here in the studio today.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
I sense such a fun workplace environment with the two of you. Tell me about just a very quick dive into the founder story of WrkPod.
Well, I came to the Philippines for the first time in 2013, and I had been hiring a few staff online to help me in my web development startup. And anyway, long story short, we grew that to about 80 staff. And then we had a lot of clients of ours in Australia asking us how we'd hired these staff, where they came from, how we'd had success with it. And so we had some spare desks in our office space. And so we started helping our friends to hire staff and put them in our office space. And that was how WrkPod started. And then we outgrew that 50 desk space in about 3 or 4 months. And then we took on our first facility after that.
Were you friends already then?
Yeah, we first met in, I think it was 2013, where Kody attended an event. I run a business coaching company in Australia.
You were the speaker.
Yes.
He was my business coach.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we started as Kody was my client, then we became friends, and then we became business partners. So I invested in his website development company, and then through that, we then transitioned into running WrkPod, and I became a partner and investor in that company as well, and have been supporting the growth ever since.
So you look like the OGs, as they say, in the industry, and now you're looking at increasing to 10,000. 10,000 Filipinos, VAs, here in the Philippines. I have a big question because I think, I'm not sure, 2010, 2005, I'm not sure what year it was. Somebody was asking me to set up a VA firm.
Right.
At that time, I think the industry wasn't ready for it. What took so long?
I think that people have been hiring staff in the Philippines for many years. I think even 2 decades, probably companies in Australia at least have been looking to the Philippines because of the time zone, the great English speaking in the Philippines. People have been doing it for a long time.
But mainly the large companies.
Yeah, but the large companies. But then probably in the last 10 years, it's become more and more popular. And then with COVID happening, people realizing that they can work from anywhere on a computer as long as they've got internet connection and the talent.
And now they don't want to go back to work.
They don't want to go back to work. And the opportunity for Filipinos is huge to get these great jobs with Australian companies. And so it's really started to take off.
I can imagine as you speak around the world, people now realize that if I'm hiring, if my internal staff is working in his desk at home, why not just make a huge cost savings and hire somebody from across the world to do 5 times more? Maybe at the lower price.
Yeah, there's part of it is the cost saving, but we have a lot of clients that just struggle to find, they're happy to pay, but they struggle to find enough talent in certain kind of roles. We're working with a great accounting firm right now, and they're struggling to find enough young people that are taking up accounting as a profession. There's so many young people now that are going into other career paths, and so they've come to us and said, we're growing and we can't keep up with there's not enough local talent. Can you help us to source talent? And we're happy to pay even a bit more above market to find the talent that we're looking for. And so it's not just the cost savings. There are other benefits as well.
Very interesting, because this is now showing just exactly how global companies are changing the way they work, and it's affecting how Filipinos are also working. Validate my numbers for me. I did a little bit of research. Philippines has 13% of the world's virtual assistants, making it a leading global hub, along with India. Is that true?
I'm not sure if the stats are particularly true. I haven't done it myself, but certainly anecdotally from my experience, they're the 2 hubs that you see people outsource to. And certainly in Australia, the thing that sets the Philippines apart is how close it is to our time zone. It's only 2 hours behind. But then also culturally, there's just an affinity between Filipino people and Australian business owners. It's easy to welcome Filipinos into their teams, and just culturally they just seem to really click really well together.
And Australia is such a multicultural country anyway. I think 1/3 of the people that live in Australia were not born in Australia. And so we have lots of Filipinos, in services industries. And so it's very common for us to work with Filipinos.
The former Australian ambassador to the Philippines was a Korean. So, I mean, okay, there are more numbers. The Philippines is estimated to have more than 1 million virtual assistants now, compared to around 25,000 in the United States. And as you said, it's the literacy, it's the way Filipinos speak, at least from the top. We're all talking here in the show about the state of education in the Philippines, and that's a constant struggle, but at least I guess you've hired the right people who can speak the language, and when people call, they don't really think that they're speaking to a Filipino.
Yeah, I mean, like Dale said, if you call a business in Australia, there's oftentimes many different types of cultures represented in that place. And so if you've got Filipinos that can speak well and then you train them well, I think ultimately people don't mind about accents as long as the competency of the person is high. And so a big part of our focus at WrkPod is placing staff that are right for our clients, but then also providing the training that's needed to make them not only do a good job, but excel in their role. And I think ultimately that's what people care about. It's the competency of the work being done, less so than a little bit of an accent.
Well, yeah, I love accents. I love yours. And so when you speak, is that also, when you talk to other businesses, even outside of the VA world, is that also something that you see culturally?
Yeah, culturally, I think we're very aligned. The other thing that we've been very impressed with, especially the younger generation coming through, they're very tech savvy. And also even their accents are starting to sound more British or more American or Australian, depending on what shows they watched growing up as a kid. We kind of call this the YouTube generation that didn't grow up watching like normal television. They grew up watching YouTube, and some of them watch shows like Peppa Pig or Bluey or those type of characters. And it's fun because we actually allow our VAs to bring in their children. We have magic shows that we put on, parties and events as well. And so the next generation coming through, I think, are going to be even more amazing.
Now, you seem to be in a booming industry. This seems to be the golden age of VA work, especially after the pandemic, right? As you said, the CAGR, it's now expected to be at $5 billion US, and expected to be at almost 16 billion by 2028. And the CAGR is at 28.3%. In terms of your business, how are you making it grow so fast? What's the plan?
Well, we just there's so much need in Australia. There is the lowest unemployment rate in Australia that there's, I think, probably ever been, at least in my lifetime. And so the hunt for talent is very competitive. And so there's just such a need for people that are growing great companies to find the talent. And so
not just large companies now.
Not just large companies, even small companies. Like, for example, one of our clients runs a town planning business, and there's just...
What's that?
Town planning is like city planning, like putting development applications, like building applications and things like that. And there's just not enough of that type of talent in Australia. And so they're forced in a way to try to find other ways to access that talent. So we're right now placing around 60 staff a month at WrkPod. And so it's growing very rapidly. It's only just over 4 years old, nearly 5 years old, WrkPod. And so, yeah, we've already got 1,000 jobs created. And so our goal for 10,000 is something that we think is very achievable.
Could go more than 10,000 maybe, Dave? What do you think?
Potentially.
As an investor, maybe I suppose you'd want that.
Sure. But I think 10,000 is something that we're both very passionate and excited about. And I feel like we're off to a good start. We're sort of 10% of the way to achieving our goal. But I think 10,000 would be a really great achievement.
Very quickly, talk to me about challenges. What do you think is maybe throw a monkey wrench into the 10,000?
Yeah.
How do you want it to be solved?
Well, the first challenge that I guess was stopping us growing was funding, because this is a new industry. It is booming, but people just don't understand it. In Australia, we were doing our first large facility, which was going to cost us in Australian dollars around 1.5 million to fit out the facility. And the Australian banks just didn't understand our business model. It was not within their risk profile, and so we found it difficult to get funding. And then in the Philippines, found it difficult to get funding also because a lot of our revenue was coming from Australia, coming through our Australian entity as well. And so it was difficult to secure funding both in Australia and in the Philippines. So Dale and I self-funded all of our facilities up to date. And so that was our first challenge. But we recently just did...
That means you made the most money, though.
We don't have to share the profits for those facilities. So that's a good part. But we were filling the facilities so fast that we would need to build the next facility before we'd made the money back.
Wow.
And so we're lucky we've now got funding partners for our recent project, which has been great.
Yeah, there's an amazing organization. We've had a few people that have supported us, but one more recently is a co-op called PHCCI. Their headquarters are in Dumaguete, and they had an 8-story building, which was originally going to be commissioned to be a hotel. But once they heard about our story and saw what we were doing and how many jobs we'd already created, and they were approaching 1,000, they decided to transition from it being a hotel to actually being a WrkPod facility. So thankfully, they have supported us to cover the fit out of this new facility. We'll have 4 floors right in the heart of the city, and that will be about another, I think, 600 desks that we'll have.
No problem with internet
site.
Connection then.
No, we have amazing internet, even better than internet in Australia. Kody can talk a bit about it, but we've gone to great lengths to make sure that the internet is super fast and we have redundancies for everything. There are, of course, some issues that we have from time to time, but we've done a really great job to make sure that internet and power are really strong.
Well, I'm going to ask you a very important question for the Filipinos watching who may be in the industry already or who want to become the super VAs of the Philippines. What are the skills that you're looking for, and how can they be a big mover in the industry as a VA?
Well, I'll start with attitude, and then maybe Dale can talk about the skills. But for me, hard work is the most important attribute when I'm looking at a staff member. A lot of times employers will look at the resume and they might discount a team member just based on what they see on the piece of paper. But for me, when I'm hiring in my team or when I'm recommending to my clients, I'm looking for the type of person that they are on the inside. So I'm trying to understand like what motivates them, what their passions are, but ultimately, like, how hard do they want to work? Like, if someone really has an attitude of wanting to be great at what they do, then the skills can be taught. And I think good employers know that putting training into great people is how you get the best results. But in terms of skills, Dale can talk about, I guess, what we're seeing in the marketplace, because there are some skills that are less required or maybe not as...
Compared to 2013.
Yeah, compared to 2013, compared to today with new emerging technologies, there's certain skills that are really in high demand.
Dale, I know you want to dive into it, but I just have a follow-up question. Can you find these answers in an interview? That's tough, right? That's internally driven.
Yeah, it definitely. It's not that easy to get to the bottom of like what someone is motivated by, but there are ways. I think you have a bit of an intuition. I think that people that have hired a lot before, you can develop a bit of an intuition for the type of people that are going to fit well in your organization. So I often just trust my gut. It's not always right, but...
you can't lie your way out.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Dale, talk to me about the skills. I know that there are skills that were very important in 2013, but are now slowly fading away because of AI and other things.
Yeah, we can maybe talk just quickly about one or two more of the soft skills, and then we can go into some of the harder skills. The other thing that we look for is someone that is going to show some initiative, because business owners, our clients, are really busy people. They can't always be there to give the next task and the next task, and we don't want to have staff just waiting there to be told what to do. Once they go through initial training, we want them to show initiative, to look for ways in which to improve and to offer suggestions, and even to have the confidence to push back and ask questions of their boss and clarify things. Because one of the cultural differences that we found is oftentimes they would give a quick instruction and go, do you understand? And they'd say yes, and then they'd spend the next hour Googling what they meant or trying to figure out how to actually do it.
You don't want that.
No, we want them to say, would you mind clarifying, or how did you want it, or can you show me a sample? Just to ask some questions to really make sure that they understand what the brief is and what success looks like. And if there's something that they don't know to speak up. So we've just run a conference actually over this last week where we brought over 55 business owners from Australia and New Zealand, and we
That's
had around 270 VAs in total. So we have nearly over 300 people together in a room. And one of the big things that we were trying to impart on the VAs was just helping them to discover their voice, to be able to speak up, to have more confidence, to be more assertive, not in a way that's rude or arrogant. And I think that can really never happen with the Filipino culture anyway. But what we don't want is people to be passive or submissive or to not speak up. And so having the confidence to share what they really think and to us for clarification if they don't understand is really important. But in terms of some of the hard skills or the things that we're now training them on is really around technology and also around how to use artificial intelligence to enhance and complement what they're doing rather than seeing it as a threat. We're encouraging them to use AI in their role so they can be more productive.
I love your answer because, especially the first one, it shows that you need humans. Pushing back and asking for clarifications, these are things that only the Homo sapiens. I mean, those of us who are actually in a job that's very high demand, very demanding, will have to ask those questions. Otherwise, we won't be able to do the things that we're supposed to do. And do you see that as a part of your training? For example, when you mentioned that there's this conference with 300 people, I heard that your first one was just 80.
Yeah,
is that right?
Yeah, when I built the first company.
Now it's 300.
Yeah, so the first company was 80, and now we have over 1,000 staff working in our facilities. But this was a particular event that we had with 300 delegates. But that was a big part of the training, was just around finding your voice, being assertive, and really working hard. And if you want to be great at your role, it comes from putting that effort in, and that personal development is something that we're really strong at WrkPod.
Dale, as the public speaker, also gymnast, did you have to do a lot of cartwheels on stage?
You did a couple.
Inspire
that was
everybody.
at the farewell party. That's my one trick. It's a helicopter handstand.
That was his party trick.
That's my party trick.
Yeah.
So, what are the skills that are disappearing or that will not be needed in the VA industry in 5 years, maybe?
I think they may be just less in demand. I think when I first came over here in 2013, I think what our clients in Australia were thinking when they looked at our company was they were surprised that we were finding web developers and building a technology business over here. Kind of people's perception of the staff that you would hire overseas was maybe just administration, maybe customer service. Those types of roles were kind of what people assumed a virtual assistant could do. But today we're hiring accountants, we're hiring engineers, we're hiring bookkeepers, we're hiring video editors, graphic designers.
No.
So we're hiring not just people who can do admin and customer service, but professionals. And I think that's the big shift. Customer service roles and admin are still going to be important, but AI is going to supercharge those roles. So a business that maybe previously needed 50 administrators, maybe they only need 10 now because of technology being able to make people more effective at their roles. So I think those jobs will still exist, but they will be empowered by technology, which means if VAs currently only have admin and customer service skills, they need to add other skills to their repertoire in order to be more valuable in the marketplace.
And one of the things that we've built now is a library of more than 30 courses that we now have. We called it Skill Builder, and inside there are courses on things like video editing, graphic design, being like direct response.
They can upskill themselves inside the system.
Exactly. So once they become a VA, we have like a course which is called Virtual Assistant Express, and it's a 10-hour course on the basics of becoming a virtual assistant. And then after that, they can go through specialized training. And they basically appear as little badges on their portal and profile, and really just and being able to show to their boss that they're now able to do more things. I always say the more skills equals more success, and so we're encouraging the staff. There shouldn't be, if you ever have nothing to do, you should be training and upskilling yourself as well, and we provide that.
Dale sounds like the Filipino kuya of everybody. Okay, I have a tough final question for the two of you. I know that you've heard this, and I've sort of gotten this vibe from you earlier. You kept on saying this, we're not just hiring Filipinos for the cost savings, because there is a global issue where people are saying the VA industry is basically a modernized sweatshop where people go to the Philippines to hire very competent people here for a fraction of the cost. And
Right.
so now you're talking about a booming industry. We don't know which players are doing this for long-term growth or just
Right.
taking advantage of the cost savings at the moment. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's true. Unfortunately, there's people out there that would, put themselves above others and try to build their own companies, not thinking about the outcome for the employee. But at WrkPod, that's not the case. Our staff are often paid a lot more than what they would get through local opportunities here because they work directly for their bosses in Australia, New Zealand, or the UK, wherever our clients are. They're working directly with those clients. So they're often paid a lot more than they would get for a
Give
role.
a percentage.
A percentage? I'm not sure we have an exact percentage, but in terms of the cost savings for an Australian, it might be about a fifth of the price of the cost of employing the staff member in Australia. But that's even paying above the opportunity that the Filipino would be able to get if they were working in a local company. So from my perspective, it's about making sure that we're providing great opportunities for Filipinos, that they're paid above what they could get in opportunities around here, and that also our clients are looking to build long-term careers for their staff. We're not interested in helping people that are just looking for short-term gain. We want people that are creating opportunities for Filipinos because that's what's really important to us.
Beautifully said, Kody. The final words.
Yeah, final
With
words.
a handstand.
With a handstand. It's just been great to be here and to see just how much really young people are out there that are looking for opportunity. And we were just reflecting because when we first came here 5-6 years ago and set up our WrkPod, our car park was just full of motorbikes. But now one of the biggest problems that we have is parking. About 20% of our staff now have cars, and so that's filling. And we have to rent another basically site for storing of all the cars. And we've seen just that in a few years, and we're thinking that maybe in another 5 years that they'll have cars, not only cars but houses. And so we're thinking about how do we actually help them to actually invest and really set up themselves and their families for success.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much, Dale and Kody. I want to hear more. Please update me. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And that's your Business Outlook. I'm Salve Duplito. Keep it here on ANC. Easily be reaped.
We know that it's such a simple technology. You can put it anywhere. It's very stackable. It's modular.